the light across the bay. Good evening, and welcome. Tonight, as you settle beneath your blankets, allow your shoulders to relax. Let the day slowly drift away. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. Our story begins on the rugged coast of Maine, where the Atlantic Ocean gently meets the rocky shoreline under a sky filled with stars. Ethan Walker had always loved quiet places. At 32 years old, he worked as a writer in Boston, but city life had become noisy and exhausting. Deadlines filled his days, and sleepless nights followed him wherever he went. So when his grandmother left him a small cottage near Cedar Point Lighthouse, he decided to spend a month there. The lighthouse stood alone on a rocky cliff overlooking the sea. Every evening, its bright beam swept across the dark water. To most people, it was simply an old lighthouse. But the locals whispered stories about it. Stories that had been passed down for generations. Stories about strange voices carried by the midnight wind. The first evening Ethan arrived, a gentle rain tapped against the cottage windows. Inside, a fireplace crackled warmly. The scent of cedar wood filled the room. He unpacked his bags, brewed a cup of tea, and settled into a worn leather chair. Outside, fog slowly drifted across the shoreline. The lighthouse beam cut through the mist like a glowing sword. For the first time in months, Ethan felt calm, peaceful. Sleepy. The next morning, he visited the small coastal town nearby. The harbor was lined with colorful fishing boats. Seagulls drifted lazily overhead. An old diner sat beside the water. Inside, Ethan ordered coffee and blueberry pancakes. As he ate, he noticed several elderly fishermen gathered around a corner table. They spoke quietly. One of them glanced toward the lighthouse. Then he lowered his voice. Ethan couldn't hear everything they said, but he caught a few words. The whispers. Always at midnight. Same as 50 years ago. The men quickly changed the subject when they noticed him listening. Later that afternoon, curiosity pulled Ethan toward the lighthouse. A narrow trail wound along the cliffs. Wildflowers swayed in the ocean breeze. The rhythmic sound of waves crashing below created a soothing melody. When he finally reached the lighthouse, he found an elderly caretaker sitting on a wooden bench. The man's name was Samuel Reed. His silver beard fluttered in the wind. His eyes seemed to hold decades of stories. "You must be Eleanor's grandson," Samuel said with a smile. Ethan nodded. "You knew my grandmother." Samuel chuckled softly. "Knew her for 40 years. The two talked for hours. About storms. About ships. About life along the coast." As the sun began to set, Ethan finally asked the question lingering in his mind. "Why does everyone talk about whispers at midnight?" Samuel grew quiet. For a moment, only the ocean answered. Then he said, "Because some people hear them." The old man stood and gazed toward the sea. Long ago, before radios and GPS, sailors relied on this lighthouse. The keeper lived alone up there. He pointed toward the lantern room at the top. One stormy night, a ship disappeared. No wreckage. No survivors. No explanation. Ethan listened carefully. What happened? Samuel shook his head. No one knows. But after that night, the whispers began. As darkness settled across the coastline, Ethan returned to the cottage. The story stayed with him. Though he told himself it was only local folklore. Nothing more. Nothing less. Just another small town legend. Yet as midnight approached, he found himself staring out the window toward the lighthouse. Its beam moved steadily through the darkness. Back and forth. Back and forth. Across the sea. 11:58 p.m. The cottage remained silent. Only the fireplace crackled softly. 11:59 p.m. A distant foghorn echoed across the bay. Then midnight arrived. 12 o'clock. At first, nothing happened. Ethan laughed quietly. Perhaps the townspeople simply enjoyed ghost stories. Then, a sound drifted through the night air. Soft. Almost impossible to hear. Like a voice carried on the wind. Ethan froze. The whisper came again. Not loud. Not frightening. Gentle. Almost comforting. As though someone far away was speaking his name. He stepped outside. The cold ocean breeze brushed against his face. The stars shimmered overhead. The lighthouse beam swept across the water. Again the whisper came. This time clearer. Still distant. Still impossible to understand. Yet unmistakably real. Ethan scanned the shoreline. No one was there. The beach was empty. The cliffs stood silent. Only the lighthouse remained. Watching. Waiting. Glowing in the darkness. Then something unusual caught his eye. A faint golden light appeared near the base of the lighthouse. Not the lighthouse beam. Something else. A lantern. Moving slowly. As if someone were walking along the cliff path. But Samuel had told him the lighthouse was closed at night. So who was carrying the lantern? Ethan squinted through the darkness. The figure paused. Turned toward the sea. Then vanished into the fog. Gone. As though it had never existed. A chill ran through him. Not fear. Wonder. Curiosity. The feeling that he had just witnessed the beginning of something extraordinary. Something connected to the whispers. Something connected to the lost ship. Something connected to the lighthouse itself. Far across the bay, the midnight wind whispered once more. And this time, Ethan was certain. The voice wasn't calling for help. It was inviting him to follow. As the lighthouse beam swept across the ocean one final time, Ethan stood alone beneath the stars. Listening. Waiting. Wondering what secrets rested beyond the fog. And somewhere in the darkness, the whispers continued. Soft as the sea. Ancient as the tide. Patiently waiting for someone to uncover their story. End of Part 1. Crescent Moon. Part 2. The lantern in the fog continues Ethan's journey as he follows the mysterious light and discovers a hidden journal inside the lighthouse. The lantern in the fog. Good evening once again. Settle comfortably beneath your blankets, relax your breathing, and allow the sound of distant waves to carry you gently into tonight's final chapter. Our story continues on the rugged coast of Maine, where Ethan Walker has just witnessed a mysterious lantern glowing through the midnight fog. The golden light had vanished. Yet Ethan couldn't stop thinking about it. For several minutes he remained outside, standing in the cool night air. The lighthouse beam swept across the dark ocean. Back and forth, like the steady rhythm of a giant heartbeat. Then the whispers returned. Soft, gentle, almost musical. This time Ethan noticed something strange. The whispers seemed to come from the lighthouse itself. Not the sea. Not the cliffs. The lighthouse. The next morning arrived wrapped in silver fog. Ethan barely slept. After breakfast he followed the cliff path toward the lighthouse. Samuel Reed was already there, sitting on his favorite bench. The old caretaker smiled knowingly. You heard them. It wasn't a question. Ethan nodded. And I saw someone carrying a lantern. Samuel's smile slowly faded. For a moment he looked toward the ocean. Then he spoke quietly. So the lantern has appeared again. Ethan sat beside him. What does that mean? Samuel reached into his coat pocket. From inside he removed an old brass key. The metal looked ancient, worn smooth by time. My grandfather was the lighthouse keeper, Samuel explained. Before he died, he gave me this key. The key opens a room hidden beneath the lighthouse. Ethan stared. A hidden room. Samuel nodded. Very few people know it exists. Together they entered the lighthouse. The interior smelled of salt air and old wood. Sunlight filtered through narrow windows. Their footsteps echoed softly on the spiral staircase. But Samuel didn't lead Ethan upward. Instead, he led him downward. Far below the main floor. To a wooden door hidden behind storage shelves. The old brass key slid into the lock. With a quiet click, the door opened. Inside was a small stone room. Dust covered everything. Shelves lined the walls. Old maps. Ship logs. Weather journals. And on a wooden desk sat a leather-bound book. Samuel carefully lifted it. The keeper's journal. The cover read, Captain Thomas Reed 1883. Samuel gently opened the first page. For hours they read together. The journal told stories of storms and ships. Of lonely winters and peaceful summers. But one entry stood apart from the rest. It was dated October 17, 1889. The night the mysterious ship disappeared. Ethan leaned closer. The handwriting trembled slightly. As if the writer had been frightened. The journal read, Tonight a dense fog covered the sea. Near midnight, a sailing ship appeared from nowhere. No signal flags. No crew visible. Only a lantern glowing on the deck. The ship sailed directly toward the lighthouse. Then vanished before my eyes. Ethan exchanged a glance with Samuel. It was the same lantern. The same mysterious light. The same thing Ethan had witnessed. More than 100 years later. As afternoon turned into evening, they continued reading. Near the final pages they discovered something unexpected. A folded map, hidden between two entries. The map showed the coastline. A red circle marked a tiny cove north of the lighthouse. Beside it were 3 handwritten words. The silent harbor. Samuel looked surprised. I've lived here my whole life. I've never heard of this place. Ethan smiled. Maybe that's where we need to go. That evening they followed the map. The path wound through pine forests and rocky cliffs. Golden sunset light shimmered across the ocean. Eventually they reached a secluded cove hidden between towering rocks. The water was perfectly calm. Silent. Still. Beautiful. Almost untouched by time. In the center of the cove stood an old wooden dock. Weathered. Forgotten. Half covered by moss. At the end of the dock sat a small metal box. Ethan carefully opened it. Inside lay dozens of letters. Perfectly preserved. The letters belonged to sailors. Families. Children. People who had once lived along the coast. Some were never delivered. Others were messages of hope. Messages of love. Messages meant for people waiting at home. The lost ship had apparently carried them. And somehow they had remained hidden here for generations. As darkness settled, Ethan and Samuel sat quietly on the dock. The ocean glowed beneath thousands of stars. Then the midnight hour arrived. The lighthouse beam appeared in the distance. Sweeping across the water. Back and forth. Back and forth. The fog slowly rolled into the cove. And there it was. The lantern. Glowing softly above the water. Golden. Warm. Peaceful. Not frightening. Not dangerous. Simply beautiful. The whispers returned. But now Ethan finally understood them. They weren't warnings. They weren't cries for help. They were voices carrying memories. Echoes of lives once lived. Stories that refused to disappear. The lighthouse wasn't haunted. It was remembering. The lantern drifted gently across the water. For a brief moment Ethan thought he saw the outline of an old sailing ship. Transparent. Faint. Made of mist and moonlight. Its sails shimmered silver beneath the stars. Then slowly, very slowly, the ship faded into the fog. The whispers grew softer, quieter, more distant, until only the sound of waves remained. The mystery had finally come to rest. After more than a century. Samuel smiled. My grandfather always believed the lighthouse protected memories. Ethan looked toward the horizon. I think he was right. The following weeks passed peacefully. Ethan spent his days writing, walking the coastline, watching sunsets, listening to the ocean. For the first time in years, he felt truly calm, truly happy. When his month in Maine finally ended, he packed his bags and prepared to leave. Before driving away, he stopped one last time beside the lighthouse. The morning sun sparkled across the sea. The fog had disappeared. The lantern never returned. The whispers were gone. Their story was complete. Yet every now and then, when the wind blows gently across Cedar Point Lighthouse, Locals still say they can hear something carried upon the sea breeze. Not a ghost. Not a warning. Just a reminder that every life leaves behind a story. And every story deserves to be remembered. The lighthouse beam continued its endless journey across the ocean. Back and forth. Back and forth. Watching over the quiet coast. Guiding travelers home. As it had done for generations. And as it would do for many years to come. Crescent Moon, the End. Crescent Moon. Narrator credit, Stephen Brooks. Story title: The Lighthouse That Whispered at Midnight, a cozy bedtime mystery.